Welcome back to Subliminal Signals. Again, I'm Carlton, and we are 7 episodes into this journey of identifying and resetting the thought patterns that keep us running in circles without even realizing it. And if you've been following along, you know we've tackled some major ones: feeling behind, perfectionism, needing certainty, people pleasing, timing, timing excuses, and success sabotage. But today's subliminal signal might be the most pervasive one, especially in our social media age. And that's the reason why I decided to live stream the recording of this episode. Now, this is a signal that everyone basically turns everyone else's highlight reel into evidence that you're failing. It's that voice that makes someone else's success feels like proof of your inadequacy. It's the thought that transforms inspiration into intimidation. Today's signal is if they can do it, why can't I? And if you just felt that familiar sting of comparison, this episode is going to help you understand why that question is sabotaging your progress instead of motivating it. So let me paint a picture you probably recognize. You're scrolling through social media, whether it's Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or even the shorts feed in YouTube. You're feeling pretty good about your day, but then you see it. Somebody that's in your field, somebody that you know, or somebody who you've been following, they just landed their dream job. Someone your age just bought their second home or even their first home. Someone with your background just launched a successful business. And instantly, that good mood evaporates. Suddenly, your progress feels small, insignificant. Your achievements don't amount to anything. Even your timeline feels slow. And then that voice kicks in. If they can do it, why can't I? What's wrong with me? Why am I so behind? And here's what's happening in that moment: you're taking someone else's external result and using it as evidence about your internal worth. You're comparing your behind the scenes to their highlight reel. You're measuring your chapter 3 against their chapter 15. But here's the thing that's going to change everything for you. That question, if they can do it, why can't I? It isn't actually asking for information. It's not a genuine inquiry, or it's even trying to find a possibility. It's a weapon your brain is using to make you feel inadequate. Because when you ask that question, you're not really asking, how did they do it? Or what can I learn from their path? You're actually asking, why am I not as good as they are? And that question has no good answer. It's designed to make you feel behind, not to move you forward. And here's what's happening in your brain when you compare yourself to others. Your mind has something called social comparison theory. It's a mechanism that helped our ancestors understand their place in the social hierarchy, specifically for survival purposes. In the modern world, however, this mechanism often goes haywire. Because, see, when you see someone else's success, your brain doesn't always see inspiration, it sees competition. It doesn't see possibility, it sees a threat. Your amygdala, it activates the same stress response that would kick in if you were actually in danger. And meanwhile, your brain starts doing what psychologists calls compare and despair. It selectively focuses on areas where the other person seems ahead while ignoring areas where you might be ahead. It magnifies their strengths and minimizes your own. And this isn't a character flaw. This is your brain trying to protect you from social rejection. by making sure that you're constantly aware of where you might be falling short. But instead of it protecting you, it's paralyzing you. Because here's a cruel irony in this: the more you compare yourself to others, the less likely you are to achieve what they've achieved. Because comparison doesn't create motivation, it actually creates demoralization. And when you ask if they can do it, why can't I? You're making several assumptions that are probably false. Assumption number one is they started where you started. And you're assuming that they had the same resources, the same connections, the same background, and circumstances that you have. Trust me, they probably didn't. The second assumption is that they're only good at this one thing. And you're seeing their success in one area and assuming that's their whole story. You're not seeing the areas where they struggle or the trade offs that they made to get where they are. Assumption number three is that success came easily to them. You're seeing their result, but not their process. You're not seeing the failures, the years of preparation, the moments when they wanted to quit. Assumption number four is that there's a limited amount of success available. You're operating from scarcity, like their success somehow reduces your chances of success, as if there's only one seat at the table and they took yours. It's not a zero sum game, folks. And assumption number five, your timelines should be identical. You're assuming that because you're the same age or you started at the same time or you have similar backgrounds, you should be at the same place. But everyone's story is different. Everyone's path is unique. And when you really examine these assumptions, you start to see how flawed the comparison question really is. So, time for a commercial break. As we're talking about stories our brains tell us about other people's success, we're reminded of why this work goes so much deeper than just changing our thoughts. You see, these comparison patterns, they're running at the subconscious level. You can know logically that comparison is pointless, but if your subconscious mind is still programmed to see other people's success as evidence of your inadequacy, you'll keep falling into the same trap. And that's where mindset coaching and hypnotherapy becomes so powerful. See, in a hypnosis session, we can access those subconscious comparison programs and literally rewrite them. Instead of automatically seeing other people's success as a threat, your brain can learn to see it as proof of what's possible. And I work with clients all the time who struggle with comparison and imposter syndrome. We use techniques like the ones in my recent workshop to reprogram these deep seated patterns at their source. And if you're tired of other people's success making you feel inadequate, and if you're ready to turn comparison into inspiration, I'd love to work with you in personalized hypnotherapy session. Check out our website at coachingkaleidoscope.com or give me an email at carlton@coachingkaleidoscope.com. And we can get started, talk about what your goals are, and see how hypnotherapy could help you. All right, now let's get back to transforming that comparison trap. Not all comparison is created equal. There are actually four different types, and understanding which one you fall into can help you reset the pattern more effectively. Number one is the scorekeeper. You're constantly tracking metrics: who has more followers, who makes more money, who got promoted faster. You turn life into a competition, and you're always calculating whether you're winning or losing. I see this one with parents a lot, especially parents when their children are younger or when their children are in those school ages. You kind of compare how your kids are doing against their kids and whose kid walked first or whose kid said their first word first. And you're kind of keeping track of that. Um, That's a dangerous place to be. Type number two is the highlight reel watcher. You consume other people's curated content and compare it to your real life. You see their vacation photos and feel bad about your normal Tuesday. You see their success posts and feel inadequate about your work progress. Type number three, the lateral comparer. You only compare yourself to people in your exact situation. Same age, same industry, same background. And this might seem logical, but it ignores the reality that everyone's path is unique, even when the starting points look similar. Type number four is the inspiration crusher. You turn every potential source of motivation into evidence of your inadequacy. Someone else's breakthrough becomes proof that you're behind. Someone else's achievement becomes a reminder of what you haven't accomplished yet. So, which type resonates most with you? Because each one requires a slightly different reset approach. So, your reset tool for this week, the curiosity shift. This week, what I want you to do, or how I want you to attack this thought, instead of saying or thinking, if they can do it, why can't I? Try this. What can I learn from their path that applies to mine? This isn't just a mindset trick. This is a complete reframe that changes what your brain does with the information. When you ask, if they can do it, why can't I? Your brain goes into self attack mode. It starts generating reasons why you're inadequate, behind, or lacking. But when you ask, what can I learn from their path? Your brain goes into learning mode. It starts looking for useful information, strategies you could adapt, and insights you could apply. Now, here's how to practice that curiosity shift. First, catch the comparison moment. Notice when you're feeling that familiar sting of they're ahead and I'm behind. Next, acknowledge the feeling. Don't fight it or judge it. Just notice I'm comparing myself right now, aren't I? Then I want you to get curious instead of critical. I want you to ask, what's interesting about their approach? What can I learn here? And how might this apply to my situation? Start looking for the backstory. Remember that you're seeing their result, not their process. Think, what did they do that I'm not seeing? What work did they put in that I haven't, that's not part of this highlight reel? And then finally, I want you to extract the lesson. Is there something specific you can apply to your own path? And if not, that's okay too. Not every success story has to teach you something. The goal isn't to never notice other people's success. The goal is to let their success expand your sense of what's possible instead of contracting your sense of self worth. And here's an example of this. I've mentioned it to a men's group that I'm in, and I said that the idea of or how important it is to actually share what's possible, because a lot of times we're so stuck in our own heads that we don't realize that there's a whole world of opportunity that exists outside of the circle that we've built around ourselves. No matter how wide that circle is, it can be expanded further. So you've got to show people what's possible, and you've got to be able to see beyond yourself to see what is really capable of being accomplished. And here's what I want you to understand: your path is not supposed to look like anyone else's path. My timeline is not your timeline, and our timelines are not supposed to match anyone else's. Your version of success is not supposed to be identical to anyone else's. You, I, have a unique combination of strengths, experiences, perspectives, and circumstances. And nobody else has that unique combination. The work you're meant to do, the contribution you're meant to make, the life you're meant to live, it can only come from you. And when you spend your energy comparing yourself to others, you're not just wasting time, you're missing the work that only you can do. You're overlooking the opportunities that are specifically aligned with your path. You're dismissing the progress that's happening at exactly the right pace for you. And here's something that might surprise you: the people you're comparing yourself to, they're probably comparing themselves to someone else. You see, success doesn't cure comparison, clarity does. Clarity about your own values, your own definition of success, your own timeline. So, this week, I want you to do what I call a comparison detox. And here's how: I want you to audit your inputs. What are you consuming that triggers comparison? Social media accounts that make you feel inadequate? What industry newsletters that focus on other people's achievements? What conversations with people who always seem to be doing better? I want you to audit what you're taking in. Then I want you to curate for inspiration, not intimidation. I want you to unfollow accounts that consistently make you feel behind. And I want you to follow people whose content teaches you something or genuinely inspires you without triggering inadequacy. Then I want you to focus on your own scorecard. Instead of tracking how you measure up to others, I want you to track your own progress. Where were you 6 months ago? What have you learned? What have you accomplished? And what obstacles have you overcome? And then I want you to celebrate others without diminishing yourself. Practice saying, "That's amazing for them," without adding, "I wish that were me," or "I should be there too." Their success can exist without it meaning anything about you or your success. And then I want you to remember your wins. Keep a record of your accomplishments, your breakthroughs, and your progress. One of the things that has benefited me the most from doing 75 hard and those type of activities is that progress picture and being able to see how I've grown and how things have changed over the course of the action. Or even in the case of this podcast, right? I have recorded now 7 episodes of this, and I think every time I get just a little bit better at the activity, but I'm able to go back over and remember those wins. And when comparison begins to kick in, when I think about somebody else who has a larger podcast audience or more followers on social media, I can remember that I started off with zero and now I'm where I'm at. And I'll have concrete evidence of the journey that we're on as a reference. Because here's what I've learned after working with people who struggle with comparison: the people who seem ahead aren't necessarily happier. They're not more fulfilled, and they're not more secure than you or I. They just have different challenges. You see, like I said earlier, success doesn't solve comparison, it often amplifies it. The person with the successful business is comparing themselves to the person with the bigger business. The person with the big house is comparing themselves to the person with the bigger house. But here's the thing: the people who are truly thriving, they've learned to run their own race. They've defined their success on their own terms. They use other people's achievements as data points about what's possible, not as judgment about their own worth. They understand that there's enough success to go around, that someone else's win doesn't mean there are fewer wins available for them, that the universe isn't keeping score and neither should they. So if you're ready to stop letting other people's success make you feel inadequate, I want you to slide over to the Story Shift Circle. This is my free community. We have lots of folks there that you can interact with. Every week, when I mention these challenges in the podcast episodes, I actually create a small course that actually takes you through that challenge. So, the Get Started challenge that we mentioned a few weeks back is already there for you to just go through. There's also there was the Get Started challenge, and then there was one other one that I created a course around. And I'd love for you to take part in those challenges. And this week, I'm gonna be creating one called the Comparison Detox Challenge. And this is where we're all practicing the curiosity shift and auditing our inputs. And it's not about becoming blind to other people's achievements. It's about learning to see them as inspiration instead of intimidation. It's about running your own race at your own pace towards your own finish line. The link to the Story Shift Circle will be in the show notes, and I'd love to see what insights you gain when you stop comparing and start creating. Until next time, remember, you are not behind, and you're certainly not inadequate. You are not failing just because someone else is succeeding. You are on your own path, running your own race, building your own version of success. And that path is exactly where you need to become who you're meant to become. Other people's achievements can teach you what's possible, but they can't tell you what's possible for you. Only you can discover that. And you discover it by focusing on your own work, celebrating your own progress, and trusting your own timeline. So thanks for being here. And thanks for being willing to examine these patterns that most people just accept as normal. Thank you for choosing curiosity over comparison. And I'll see you next week with another subliminal signal that's probably keeping you smaller than you're meant to be. Until then, keep resetting. And remember, your journey is not supposed to look like anyone else's, it's supposed to look like yours. I'm Carlton. Have a good night. All right, y'all. That's it for the podcast episode. I appreciate everybody who slid through and dropped a comment.